Record. Okay, so if you are just joining us, I just turned on the Zoom recorder for people that aren't able to make the meeting for one reason or another, technical difficulties or whatnot. We're going to start today and a lot of days with a free writing exercise, and I put some of the goals in the chat. But the goal of the free writing exercise is to write as much as possible, not censor yourself. Grammar, punctuation doesn't matter. You're not sharing this with anyone, and the goal is to kind of quiet the voices in your head that tell you what you're doing isn't any good, which is in turn helps you draft and also can be used as a tool to learn more about where you are coming from as a person and as a writer, so that you can kind of use that in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of benefits of free writing. I use it to stave off depression, and it's my therapist that's cheaper than $100 an hour. Okay, so with that being said, for 4 minutes, let's see how much we can write. The prompt I'm giving you is finish as many I am statements as you can. So I am a student, I am a son, I am a dork, I don't like whatever. But if that prompt doesn't work for you, another good prompt is what's pissing you off right now, or why are you angry if you're angry, or why are you grateful? What are you happy about if you want to be happier? Research shows that if you keep a gratitude journal, you'll be happier. Okay, here we go. 4 minutes. One more minute. and wrap up what you're writing about. Okay, so if you are just joining us, let me change where this is so I can look more at you. We're going to start classes with free writing exercises, mainly to get us engaged and as a valuable practice. I've had students say in previous semesters that establishing a free writing practice was one of the biggest benefits they got out of this course. I know for me, I made a joke, but it's a very serious joke, that it's the cheapest therapist I know of that will always listen to me talk. Anyway, we're moving on. Anyone have anything? I'm never going to ask you to share what you write in there, but if did anything come up that seems relevant or interesting to the goals of the course or to Edmundson? Anybody have any? Does anyone want to share anything from that? Okay, cool. What I'm going to do is share my screen and do a little bit more of a lecture style. Can you all see this Google document? Cool. See if I can make this better. So the goal here that we're going to do today is basically we have two goals. One is to establish clear expectations of each other in the class. If you're just joining us, I do want to say that I'm recording this Zoom meeting for the people that can't be here, and I'm going to continue to do that. I just wanted to make sure that was okay with everyone and give you an option of turning off your camera if you wanted to for that. I'll post those as an unlisted link so people won't be able to find it on YouTube, and then post that to YouTube so you can see it on Canvas later. My goal though is to make these Zoom sessions such that you're really going to get the benefit of being here real time, as I think synchronous education is where it's at. All right, so goal number one is that we're going to try to establish a little clearer expectations of each other in the class. And then goal number two is to understand the basics of argument and rhetoric. This is a class on writing arguments, but we need to understand kind of where this is situated, mainly in the idea that argument is one means of communication. Rhetoric, do we know what rhetoric means? In general, the simplest definition is persuasive speech or writing. So this is the sense of your ability to be persuasive. We're going to look at a lot of different definitions of rhetoric that are more advanced than this. I don't know if you remember logos, ethos, and pathos. Appeals to logic, appeals to character or credibility, and appeals to emotion. Those are all, this is Aristotle's language from 300 BC when he was studying what is it that makes people persuasive or not. Okay, so kind of an ambitious goal. What we're not doing that I was trying to do today, we might have time, but I highly doubt it. This is already probably too ambitious, is just do the discussion forums, expectations and hopes. I want to go over the discussion forum rubric and share with you what I'm looking for and how that's going to work, and why we're doing it the way that we are in this remote environment. Does anybody have any questions already? Are we excited? That's might be a little.
I got a quick question.
Please.
What was the definition you gave for ethos?
Credibility and character.
Okay, thank you.
It's usually talked about as credibility. I like character more, and we're going to explore those more in depth. Mainly, we want to listen. We believe people that we think are good people, for the most part. We're going to explore ethos in depth when we do our cover letter, because that's one of the main things people are looking for when they read your cover letters, is to see whether or not what kind of a person you are. And okay, as much as they can tell. So we did the free writing. Let's go number 2, discussion expectations. I was very interested to learn that we have free speech under the First Amendment, that we can say things as Americans. Right? We have free speech. Those free speech laws do not directly translate to a classroom environment, i.e., there are types of speech that is free that are not okay in a classroom environment. Anybody want to guess what kinds of speech you can say in the plaza, but you can't say in the classroom?
Like bad language?
No, I mean maybe, but I swear on accident sometimes.
Religious speech.
Hate speech?
Hate speech is what I'm looking for. And potentially it could be religious speech, depending on how it is. Like, I don't want to get up here. And it's interesting for me in a position of power, there's other things that I am not really allowed to do. I shouldn't be telling you how to vote. I shouldn't be telling you what to believe. I shouldn't be using the fact that I can speak as in that thing. But what we're really interested here is hate speech. And I'm hoping that we can all agree that we as a group will not tolerate hate speech. Is that cool? Do you guys know how to do reactions on Zoom where you can either give me a thumbs up in the screen, or if you're not doing a screen, you can give me the yellow thumb, or you can go into settings and change the color of your yellow thumb to, okay. Now, if we're being critical thinkers here, there's an interesting part about this sentence. If I wanted to go deeper into this, what question might I ask about that question or about that statement?
Like, what is hate speech?
Yeah, thank you. What is hate speech? Or what are some examples of hate speech? And for our purposes, we're going to say that hate speech is anything that makes someone in the class feel unsafe or unfree. Oh boy, I should have worked this out a little bit more beforehand. To speak. The idea is, and I've seen this happen in classes sometimes, where someone will say something, say, about what they think about a political candidate or some kind of a current issue, that the way they say it or how they say it makes other people in the class feel unable or unwelcome to voice their opinion. I saw this most specifically last semester with someone sharing their opinion about immigrants. And in that same classroom, there were two dreamers who were immigrants. And that one comment that the person made about about the value of immigrants to America, they didn't put it that way, made the other students in the classroom who were immigrants, they didn't say anything the rest of the semester. And for me as a facilitator, I'm like, oh shit, like that just happened and there's nothing I can do about it now except be like, well, not everybody sees it that way. And the way you see it is based on your experiences, backgrounds, beliefs, parents, culture, and more the media that we digest, right? We're gonna look at that a little bit more. We had an entire training this semester identifying all of the areas of contention that people might talk about that would make people feel unsafe. Would we agree that we're in a divided time in America today? Maybe, yeah. What are some issues that people are divided on? I already named one of immigration, and the status of immigrants is a big one. That's the one that I have seen cause divisions in class. There's some other ones that are interesting. Can we list some of them?
Just like political views in general?
Yes. There's two other ones I want to get on here that are really pertinent to what's going on in America today.
Law enforcement.
Yes, and that's actually, that is That's not one of the ones I was going for, but that's connected to one of the ones I was going for. Another one. History of systemic racism in our country really is one of the big ones, and how we react to that. Even there is an argument over the existence of this, even though by many forms, if you look at home ownership rates, education rates, placement and income disparity, and there's great articles on that if you want to know more about that. And then the other big one that people brought up is COVID. Masks and so on and so forth. So I want to go deeper into this a little bit next time, but suffice it to say for now, are we cool? We already said that, but are we cool that we won't tolerate hate speech? Then let's do one more. If we just not only that, can we encourage each other to think clearly, carefully, and compassionately? It's kind of a big, this is a bigger ask. It's not just like not saying things, but actually trying to think about ways we can interact with each other that encourage, uplift, support each other. Is that cool?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a big hope for me, and there's one story that I like to tell from a big lecture. Some teacher said that the best way you can show me that you're intelligent is by making your peers feel more intelligent. So if a peer says something that either doesn't make sense or you might feel like you want to criticize, instead of criticizing what they say, I would ask, under what circumstances is that statement true? When might that statement be true? How could we, and this is talked about in philosophy as the principle of charity, which means you always give your peers the benefit of the doubt, or whoever you're talking to. We were in a really like a critical thinking kind of context, you can say that you basically want to help them build their argument. And then you can help them build their argument before you take it down. So if we're arguing, I might, and you say something that I think is wrong, one rule, an easy way to think about this is that you can always question a person's argument, but never attack the person who's making the argument. That makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to look at fallacies a little later in the semester, but a straw man is when you kind of like mischaracterize another person's argument and then attack the weaker version of the argument. You can, it's kind of like when you just diminish another person's argument and then attack the weaker version of that argument. But just really just trying to understand where other people are coming from. I always am really fascinated by how different our experiences are. And that's one of the coolest parts about college, is that we get to experience people with radically different perspectives and opinions. I just want this to be a safe space to do that. I also wanted to give you an opportunity to add anything else to this list. This is like a wish list if we're going to make this the most amazing class possible. I'm saying we will not tolerate hate speech. Because everyone in this room deserves the freedom to be able to speak without feeling threatened. And then I'm gonna say that I'm encouraging us to be as compassionate and clear with our thinking as possible, so that we actually kind of help each other out, especially the people that we disagree with, just as an exercise of civic communication. Is there anything else that you would like from our peers? for now. We're going to go over this next time, but I hope that the discussion forums are more than just checking the boxes. I.e., if you approach the discussion forum as just something that you have to do and your comments to your peers is just something that you have to do, it shows and it sucks. If you can approach the discussion forums as a way to improve your communication skill, and then your comments to your peers as helpful ways, one, to be supportive. So you're not mean on the discussion forums. So you're trying to find the best in what your peers are doing, encourage them to develop that, and then give them ways to do that, like kind of encourage their development and thinking. That would be amazing. That's what I'm hoping the discussion forums will be. Okay, so for Friday, you have a discussion forum. Your original post is due kind of before class, and that's mainly processing what we've done so far this week and putting your notes of Edmundson in a more accessible way for everybody else. And then you're going to comment on 2 peers, and I hope that you can begin to practice on giving substantive, compassionate, caring, encouraging, supportive feedback to your peers. All right, that's goal 1. Comments or, let's come back to here. Comments or questions?
I have a quick question. Is that just located in the discussion section? Or is it in the modules?
Yes, the discussion forum?
Yeah, that's just in the discussions.
Correct. Are you, but I don't know what you mean by that. Are you meaning the notes that I was just taking?
No, like the thing that's due on Friday.
Friday, yes.
We'll
It's
define
under,
that.
correct. It's under discussions. And I should pull up Canvas. So, but yeah, you'll be able to see it. It's
Is it like just the module 1, or are we in
Yep.
module 2?
We're in module 1 all this week.
Okay, cool. So just post that and then respond.
Correct.
Great.
Your original post is worth 15 points. This one's a little different. Like I'm kind of giving you 4 things to talk about on this one. And you can see how they change over time if you want. But your comments on your peers are worth 3 points apiece. And they're basically your ability to give your peers something they're doing well and something they should improve and show me that you're thinking about that carefully. So, and then you do need to respond back to your peers by kind of adjusting your original posts. We're going to work on revision throughout the semester. And then that's the other points is your revision of your original post for 25 points. So that revision is worth 4 points. I'm going to go over that rubric next time, but it's under the rubrics on Canvas as well. Cool. Thanks for the question, Connor. Any other questions? All right. Oh, is
yes.
that one? Go
Yeah.
for it.
So I had a question about the reading notes.
Great.
Because since we're turning like all of like a bunch of them in at once,
Yes.
can I just put them all on one document?
Yes. That's
Okay.
what I would do. I would just
Okay.
add as a Google document so it doesn't go away.
Okay, cool. Right.
I mean, the other thing you can do is if it was me, I would take my reading notes on a thing just because I enjoy writing it out more. And then if there's things that that you really like, you can space it out in that way. Like this is a really cool idea about work and art, or like you can do lists. So then I could just like photograph all these and then upload if you're doing it analog, just how I would do it. But I just enjoy the physical sensation of writing. Okay, other questions? Awesome. Now we get to the main event, or not the main event, but the second event. I'm going to put you in breakout rooms again, and we have 4 goals. I'll drop these in the chat, and then I can give those to you in the breakout rooms. I want to hear your reactions to Edmundson. And I'm realizing I'm missing a step here. I would like for you to outline his argument or draw out his argument. Evaluate his argument. How good do you think it is? And then identify some of your discussion questions for the class. So from each group, you should have at least one discussion question that might be good for us. And in order to do that, I'm going to share my screen one more time and give you some notes. Okay, when we talk about an argument, this is the format we're going to use for the rest of the semester. There are two parts to an argument, two basic parts, and that is a claim and support. Now there's different ways of talking about this. Another word for the claim is the thesis, i.e. it could also be the main point. It's also, if we're taking logic and critical thinking, it's called the conclusion. The support, likewise, there's other words for this. These are the reasons that they use. This is the different kinds of evidence. That is there. And if we're going to go deeper into this, the other thing that's in an argument is that there are almost all arguments, actually I should say, all arguments make assumptions. So if I make an argument, I say, hey, I believe this. I believe that we should not have hate speech in our class. Why? Because everyone should feel free to contribute. Well, I'm making assumptions there. I think it's actually assumptions that we all share as Americans. But if you don't share my assumptions, the argument will not work. What's interesting about the argument analysis that we're going to be doing this semester is that most of these assumptions are unstated. In other words, one of the things we're doing as critical thinkers is finding what people aren't saying in their arguments and analyzing those not statements. So when I say analyze the argument, there's two things that you can do. And this is from kind of logic critical thinking. One, you can examine the truth of the claim and support. So if someone's lying, that would be a reason to not believe their argument if their support is just wrong. But the other interesting one is the connection between the support and the claim. In other words, I could have true support and a true claim, but my connection isn't really that great. Or it seems like my reasons support the claim, but they actually don't. We can also lastly analyze the assumptions. So this all fits into argument is one big way to be persuasive. So we're making arguments all the time, and that's the understanding of rhetoric. Okay, it's a longer lecture than I want to give you. I apologize for that, but there's kind of no way around it at this point. Okay, so that still gives us a good 6 minutes I'm going to put you into breakout rooms, and the goal is to analyze one, your reactions to Edmundson. So outline his argument, like what was his claim and his reasons. Evaluate his argument means like how good or bad is it. And then I'm hoping that I'm reading notes, you posed questions. That's the hardest part in some ways. So I want to know what questions you had. As always, in the breakout rooms, kind of decide someone that can talk when we get back to the main group. And I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do this. So it's not very much time. Cool. Questions before I send you into your breakout rooms? All right. Well, again, this is completely random. I hope that you use this opportunity to get to know each other and exchange contact information in the chat if you feel like that would help. All right, here we go. May the force be with you. Too much time, not enough time in the breakout rooms?
I think
Got
it's
a
good.
little short.
A little short, some people good. Yeah, my lesson plans are often too ambitious and they suffer for that, so I apologize, but especially these first weeks, I'm trying to do too much. Okay, what did we think? What was his main claim? And maybe I should share the screen, but I'll just take notes actually and share it later. What was his main claim?
So we kind of talked about how he was kind of talking about just like, you know, when you go to college, you should do like what you want to do and what makes you happy instead of like trying to fit into like norms or like doing what you think is like financially sound. And like those kind of anecdotes that he used with like his father, and like he was thinking, oh, maybe I'll go into law, but then his father's like, well, do you want to? And if you don't, then don't do it. So things like that, just kind of making sure that you are in it for something that is worth it to you.
Good. I think that's part of it. Anybody else get something else?
We talked about how an education is a lot more than just like the knowledge you get from your textbooks and your teacher. And a lot of it is being in a situation that you're unfamiliar with and dealing with different situations that are new or uncomfortable. And kind of expounding on that, we had said that basically college is just or the college courses you take are just like a medium almost of getting yourself into those uncomfortable situations. And it's not necessarily like you can, once you're out of school, those uncomfortable situations are just life. And so in the article here, if it goes back to like when you're in your job and you're doing something that's really difficult and you don't know if you can persevere, then you can kind of look back and tap into the resourcefulness that you had in college. And so it kind of just trains you to like deal with hard stuff more so than actually solve problems or like just
Good.
get the answer on the test.
Thank you. Other ones, still not the one that I got. I mean, these are connected. It's not like these are wrong, but I would have put it a little, I would have put his claim a little bit differently still.
We kind of talked about his claim that the higher education system is not built to support active and mindful learning or teaching. That's one of his biggest arguments. I feel.
Yes, I agree. I'm actually going to put this as a reason. And he also says something that one of the, and in a sense, actually, I'm going to redo this. This is a reason or a sub-claim. So this is an argument that he makes. And mainly, it's not built for this. We guys saw it was the one part of the argument that was really well organized was he talked about how professors aren't in it for the right reasons and that the institution doesn't really care. They try to make it seem like they do. And then the students are often somewhere else, right? Good.
Something that kind of goes hand in hand with that is just another thing we talked about is how, I mean, every student's different and goes to school for different reasons. Some go for just to get that degree, and some go to actually learn the content and materials. And he actually said something about that in his he kind of took the opposite side and said education is about finding out what form of work for you is close to being play.
I love that quote.
Yeah, I did too.
Still missing what I feel like his claim was, his overarching argument here. And it's not that these are wrong, but I think all of this can be, there's one statement that he makes that I feel like captures all of this. Says if you want an education in America today, you have to fight for it. Except I think he says if you want a real education in America today. What's interesting to me about this is that it really raises the question about what a real education is. And Connor, I mean, that's what made me think of it, that there's different ways to get a real education in America today, I think. Good discussion questions that we had. We're going to need to pick this up again on Friday. There's too much richness here, and it's going to be a good basis for the discussion forum. Can we hear a couple of discussion questions before we call it? Or just one at least?
One discussion question I had was, how can students balance living in a society where monetary value is essential while following their passions?
Good one.
We had one that was how many people are actually doing what they want to do,
Right.
and do they think it's worth it?
Great. Really good. Awesome. I was wondering if his assessment of university instructors or professors is true. I thought some of that was bullshit. And then I was also wondering, more practically speaking, about how to actually move forward with it. He says, that's not the quote that I wanted to get, just that we need to question everything, and that the professors aren't going to help you question everything and see what's true or not for you, which I also thought was bogus, since I've made it my goal as an instructor to help students question everything. But all right, so what I'm hoping that we can do with this discussion of Edmundson is take this and connect it to the syllabus goals. Again, I said this last time, that the syllabus is, this will be where we end, the syllabus goals for the course are written by the state of Colorado to standardize what an upper division guaranteed transfer writing course looks like. I find those objectives really sterile and unmotivational and uninspiring. I don't think I brought this up last time, but this book, Daniel Pink's Drive, it's on the science of motivation. Super cool. He says there's 3 things that motivate us: the will for freedom, greater autonomy, which we all want; the will to have purpose, a greater purpose and meaning in what we do; and mastery, and something that we care about. So freedom, purpose, mastery. I'm hoping that you can take the syllabus language and make it your own, so that you have a framework to get more out of this class than you otherwise would. If you're just doing what the state tells you to do, super uninspiring. If you find a way to make that your own, which is putting it in your own language, then you might actually have some drive to make this course way better than it would be otherwise. Cool? We're 2 minutes over. Sorry. And I will stop the screen share. Any questions or comments? So for next time, we're going to go a little bit deeper into argument structure and look more at how this relates to what we might get out of the course. And I hope to take these questions a little bit deeper next time, since we didn't really have time to actually discuss the questions.
Oh, and our like post is due on Friday, right? Like before the Zoom meeting?
Ideally before the Zoom meeting, to give us more to talk about, but if you can't get to it before, I think I said before Friday at 2.
Oh, okay.
I'd like for you to get your comments into your peers by the end of the day Friday. So like by 5 p.m. Friday.
Okay.
If you have, and throughout the rest of the semester, if the schedule is one that, like, this will really like happen in week 5 or week 7. If you have a crazy week with school and you don't want to do the discussion forum when it's due because you'd rather do other things, just tell me that beforehand and I can adjust due dates for you.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, just let me know. Really, this is, I mean, it's yours, your class. Any other, and so I'm good. That's all. If you have questions, I'll keep this open for another 5 minutes. Ellie? No, you're just saying bye. All right.
Yeah, that's
Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.